Hi there, I'm Vinil Vadi, CTO at SuneraTech. Welcome to the digital and data edition of SuneraTech's Digital Acceleration Summit. I'm privileged and very excited to be hosting some stellar speakers on this panel discussion titled Decisions of the Future, How Big Data and Data Sciences Are Shaping the DNA of Enterprise Growth. The pandemic has exposed a clear digital divide. Those companies which have already invested in digital operating models, enabled, and some of those digital strategies and transformations have fared much better, than those which did not, especially after the post-pandemic situation. The question is how soon organizations can shift to the new digital business and operating models powered by data analytics, machine learning, AI, and automation. Data, like we've been saying over and over again, is the new fuel driving digital economy. Significant untapped potential of data to create real value for the business exists out there. Data is everywhere, right? How do you make the best use of the data and extract value out of it is the moot point. According to a survey by Gartner, more than 78% of organizations are classified as having low data usage to extract business intelligence and analytics out of it. Nearly half the IT leaders plan to increase their analytics and data sciences investments to support digital transformation for the coming years, to become agile, to become ready for the future of the enterprise and how the business models are going to evolve. It is impossible to be a business leader or a digital business without being a data-driven enterprise in these times. Increasingly, data and analytics is a part of every business discussion about that is about digital transformation. So that said, without much ado, let's get started with the panel. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first segment on the panel on decisions of the future, how big data and data sciences are shaping the DNA of the enterprise growth. I'm Vinil Vadi, CTO at SuneraTech, privileged and happy to be hosting this panel. So let's get started. The pandemic has caught businesses all over the world unprepared. And for that reason, digital transformation has become a key requirement for every business that wants to remain competitive and productive. 69% of the board of directors accelerated their digital business initiatives in the wake of COVID-19, according to a new survey from Gartner. Almost half of all CIOs and CXOs of organizations anticipate changing business models as a result of the pandemic in their businesses. The shift has accelerated organizations from following the traditional best practices to new digital innovation models by using analytics, AI, IoT, and many more. It has also given us an opportunity to rethink what works best for our customers, employees, and partners today. And to take that discussion forward, I'm very excited to have a distinguished panel join us today, starting with Dr. Kiesel. And Dr. Kyle is a professor and program director of physical therapy at the University of Evansville. His areas of research include motor control of the core and functional movement testing and training. Dr. Kiesel has a PhD in rehabilitation science and is extensively involved in data initiatives at FMS. So welcome, Dr. Kyle. Let me kick off this session with a broader question for you. During this pandemic, there is a huge opportunity to monetize data like never before, to kind of predict a lot of business models and business performance. There's a huge opportunity to provide actionable intelligence and steps, especially around areas like fitness, healthcare, performance, to help people around the world. Could you talk a little bit about some of your initiatives, especially around data and data sciences that you are driving at FMS?
Sure. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And just a little bit about, I guess, my background and how we look at it from a data perspective. We spent the last 15, almost 20 years looking at research to help identify individuals at the greatest risk for particular injuries. And we've done that in multiple settings: professional sports, large studies in the military. And from an old-fashioned research perspective, we would use linear regression and logistic regression models to identify the variables or the attributes that were most commonly related to injury. So coming from that background as a researcher and understanding that process, as the whole concept of using data within your business has grown, I have always had a natural affinity to that because I understand the value and the strength of logistic regression, which is probably a very simple way to look at things compared to the way supercomputing and high-end data analytics can do it today. So I've been very excited since the beginning looking at things, because what we've learned, and if I have anything to share, it's probably this: what we've learned is looking at multiple factors together, certain combination of factors that exist within a person, is the key to determining what they need to do next, whether it's rehabilitation, injury prevention, health, wellness, fitness. It's multiple factors that can be easily gleaned from questionnaires they fill out and then physical tests that we perform.
All right, some fantastic perspectives there, Dr. Kyle. As an extension to that, and as a segue to the earlier question, increasingly the world is moving towards virtualization and shift towards an online experience, more so in the post-COVID scenario. How do you see data playing a key role in providing more personalized, kind of services and at your company courses in terms of assessment and next best offerings?
Yeah, another great question. I think when we look at it from a perspective, and I'll shift a little bit here. Of course, at FMS, we train thousands of personal trainers, physical therapists, chiropractors around the world. And as COVID hit and things shifted, we had to change the way we do our training, or a portion of our training, to what we call virtual training. So we have a robust online experience where the user can go in and watch well done pre-canned videos and have a good experience, but that just doesn't, it still doesn't replace that somewhat live interaction. So as we have shifted toward virtual courses where we're in the studio, we've got multiple cameras, and I'm going through, as the instructor, I would be going through the same thing I would do in a live course, getting the feedback from people and how people have responded. That would be our customers, meaning the actual physical therapists, chiropractors, personal trainers, how they've responded, how they've interacted, and what are the tools that can help enrich that experience, has been incredible. So we're already thinking of ways to do that, looking at their responses and how they ask questions and want more. So one, we were really surprised at how valuable the virtual experience has been for our customers, and then to build on that, to use more sophisticated algorithms to help figure out what each customer needs, is something that we would really embrace and feel could really help move our business forward.
Thanks, Dr. Kyle. Some great insights there for us. My next question is on the popular topic of customer experience. CX has been, or has become, the top priority post-pandemic for most of the companies. Given FMS's direction towards accelerating some of the digital initiatives that you talked about, can you talk a little bit about what your strategies are around how you prioritize and accelerate some of these CX initiatives while ensuring that the target outcomes are met, like we discussed earlier?
Yeah, another great question. I think from this perspective, I'll think about it more from the end user, so the consumer that's out there utilizing the tools that we develop and that we train our customers to use. So the B2B piece is one thing, but what's it like for the consumer at their end? And I think what's number one is people are used to using their phone, they're used to using apps, most people are. And the way we use smart technology to individualize the questions that are asked, the tests that the person gets, the exercise interventions, the recommendations for health and wellness and lifestyle changes, behind the scenes, the data and algorithms can help individualize that so much, right? So like, here's just a really simple example. You go to the doctor's office, and still today, most places, they hand you a hard copy questionnaire, right? And they'll ask you to fill out these questions, like, well, questions with the demographics, your name, your address. And it's like, I come here once a year, nothing's changed. So why don't you have that information? And then they'll ask you questions that don't apply to you at all. Like, I mean, I just get frustrated when they ask me if I'm pregnant. I'm not pregnant, right? I'm sure of that. So that's a very simple example. So when we're working behind the scenes to specialize and to individualize the questions and then the tests, some people don't need every physical test that we would do. Some people need more than others, and we can do that behind the scenes. So the experience for the user is very streamlined, very individualized, and they don't even know. They go through it and they don't know all the things that the behind the scenes, the data and the algorithms we're picking for them, because it's exactly what they need. Then they get a very individualized program at the other end, rather than everybody getting the same exercises or the same diet recommendations. You're going to get ones that are tailored to you. So we see that as a major benefit for the user experience that is very much tailored to their needs. So a great example of this at FMS, the way we utilize the technology, is through our consumer-facing app we call MovePrint. What we do at MovePrint is we have really has brought together everything we learned from injury risk and prediction, as well as individual behaviors, the importance of nutrition, the importance of sleep, the importance of mood and behavioral health. And we put all that into one application, and that application then seamlessly takes the client through an experience. And the experience is a few questions, and if they're doing okay, we go right to some tests. If they pass one test, they'll get another test. And ultimately at the end, it puts them in, through the algorithm process, puts them in one of 4 fitness or wellness type categories. Some people are doing great. They can keep working out, keep doing the workouts that they're doing, maybe do more workouts, maybe go get some higher end testing for performance, where other people probably need to see a healthcare provider. So when we are able to weed through what that person needs, anywhere from a healthcare referral all the way up to fitness, it really streamlines things. So we found that to be extremely useful in terms of the user end, using the algorithms behind the scene, and then connecting providers to the client. So if a client hits and they need a certain type of provider, well, we'll find the best one in their area, and behind the scenes we can get them connected. So there's a lot of value for the client, obviously, is first, and then making those referrals and connections would be next. COVID has pushed things to the virtual world, and there's been so many positives. I'm kind of a glass half full guy. Folks at SuneraTech have been super in terms of helping us recognize, as we said, in the big picture, how does data come together? But when we look at educational environments that we work in, how can we leverage this virtual experience and figure out how much can we deliver virtually that we didn't used to in the past? And then how do we work behind the scenes to figure out what each one of those clients actually needs? And some will need some hands-on work, and others do fine virtually. So going forward in terms of behind the scenes, figuring out which folks we're going to invite to hands-on training where other ones wouldn't have to actually be there. So the virtual environment being pushed to it has taught us a lot, and behind the scenes with technology is a crucial piece, so we don't lose that true interaction, and we can confirm that actual learning and behavioral change has occurred.
Next up, we have Bourns joining us. Nate works at DAI, one of the largest global economic and social development companies. Nate works across businesses and corporate functions to build the next generating operating model for development, beginning and focusing with key geographies such as India and Nigeria. As a visionary leader, Nate has been involved in a lot of digital transformation projects. For example, Nate has set up and led field projects, operating groups, and technical and putting together technical teams across all of DAI's major market segments. He has played a key leadership role in establishing in-country offices or local offices, like they call it, integrating acquired companies, and executing corporate-wide strategic initiatives. Welcome, Nate. Thank you, and very glad to have you on the show. First off, Nate, I would want to start off this session by asking you a very broad question in terms of, could you talk a little bit about the importance of data in delivering value in the overall development sector, and how you see data being very, very valuable to deliver some of the services that you deliver through DAI?
Yes, thank you. First of all, thank you, Ravi and SuneraTech for the opportunity to connect. Wish I could be there in Hyderabad and we could do this in person, but it's good to be connected. So DAI, as you guys at SuneraTech know, is a global development company. We work in 92 countries around the world. We have about 190 long-term, large projects working in international development, really in every sector of international development, governance, health, economic growth, private sector development, a range of other areas. Digital acceleration is another area in which we're working actively. And DAI has been around. This is our 50th anniversary. We've been around for 50 years. And so we are sort of pre-digital in origin, but we're a company that really believes in the potential and the power of digital technology to transform the way that we deliver with our customers and our stakeholders and beneficiaries on the projects on which we deliver. So great to be here, and I look forward to the discussion. So I've worked throughout my career in the development sector, many years in microfinance and enterprise development, and I've sort of learned about digital and data first through that lens, and got interested in technology when I saw the positive potential impact it could have in those sectors. And so I sort of became a student of technology. I'm always learning from real technology experts like you and our partners at SuneraTech and other partners, other colleagues from around DAI. And I really sort of got a sense over the years of how digital could enable new business models, could help enterprises get access to finance in new ways. But I also learned some of the limitations and some of the need really to work out compelling use cases for technology, use cases that deliver value for people and organizations first, and then work out the processes and the business models and the technology that can make that happen. And thinking, specifically about data in development and microfinance and development finance more broadly. It's a sector, it's a part of the sector where the data is actually pretty good because it's so central to the business relationships between financial service providers and clientele. In other parts of the development sector, the data is really all over the place. And on one hand, donors and development projects tend to favor open data and open source approaches, which is great, can be really useful. On the other hand, the data is often so messy and unstructured, and it's partial, often conflicting. It really requires careful attention, a lot of work just sort of getting it in shape. And then really a lot of attention to protecting personal information that's in that data. And especially when on so many of our projects and projects in the sector, we're dealing with marginalized groups that, you know, we need to pay particular attention to the sensitivity of that information. You know, a lot of great people doing work on digital and development in DAI and outside DAI and in the development sector. I encourage people to check out our Center for Digital Acceleration at dai.com/CDA. They've been a big proponent of the 9 principles for digital development. And you can Google that if you're interested. That's a really good initiative around you know, some of the key principles for development practitioners as they think about using technology and using digital tools.
All right, thanks, Nate. Those are some really great perspectives. As a segue to the earlier question, can you talk a little bit about what your experience has been of driving some of these data strategies at DAI? Can you walk us through some of the data initiatives that you've undertaken or planned for in 2021 at DAI?
So my role in driving the data strategy at DAI is really helping think through how data gets used. And so bringing a use case perspective, you know, thinking first about what is it that we want to do with data, whether it's sort of data that's primarily used internally in our ongoing operations, in our sort of within our operating model at DAI, or is it data that is sort of immersed in the projects that we run. Again, DAI is highly decentralized in the sense that we have, you know, people working on more than, you know, 190 projects around the world, highly autonomous teams that have clear scopes of work. And so having some basic data standards around where stuff gets stored, what sorts of tags we use so that these things can be found, the basic standards that we can protect people's personal information. You know, it becomes increasingly important to leverage centralized tools, which is somewhat paradoxical if you think about it. We have these distributed, diverse teams, and really to enable their work, we need to give them some centralized tools and that work and that sort of are easily adaptable to their work environments, which can be very complicated contexts in some of the most challenging, you know, places in the world to work. So these are challenges that I think our IT team does a great job of finding sort of the right sorts of standards to drive, but it always has to then connect back to, you know, what's the use case? What are we trying to accomplish here? Whether it's a project deliverable or an outcome on a specific project that we're implementing for, say, you know, the UK government or the US government, or in working with the, you know, Nigerian beneficiaries in the health sector. We need to really understand what it is they're trying to accomplish and work back from there and make sure that you know, the data standards are helping us, and sort of the data isn't an end in and of itself, but rather it's sort of serving a use case. Our approach to data really has you know, initially focused on getting our internal data structured in a way, you know, the data architecture set up in a way that that it can be used. We're a company that's grown a lot in different ways over the last decade, really, and we've become a much more diverse company. So we're much more spread out around the world. We're much more diverse in terms of the customer segments that we work with, and the kinds of things that we do as well. So our data, as we sort of have evolved in these ways, has gotten sort of locked into different silos. And part of the strategy is really to sort of unpack that and look at what are the common things that, regardless of where you are within DAI, that you're trying to get done. And we think about, marketing and business development. We think about project delivery. What does a project team need in terms of what data does it need to have access to over time? What is the, obviously the financial data is critical for our ongoing management and operations. We also, think about the knowledge management, which sort of cuts across all of those, and then obviously the people data. So it's really those five buckets that we think about, and coming up with some common approaches and common data standards, so that regardless of what part of DAI you're in, you have access to all of what DAI is learning, and that's sort of aspiration. And we're on that path, and I think we're making some good progress. So yeah, we're excited to continue.
All right, some great perspectives there. Thank you for that, Nate. And one other important aspect is when we talk about big data, one of the most popular use cases for big data is to leverage it for knowledge management. Knowledge management has become one of the key pillars of the digital transformation. Compared to the two other pillars like infrastructure management and API management, knowledge is extremely important to enable organizations to deliver value through automation and agility. How important is knowledge management at DAI, and how is it integrated into the digital transformation roadmap that you have drawn for DAI?
Yeah, thanks. So knowledge management is really one of the central purposes of what we think about as our digital strategy at DAI. And I think, that said, I'm not speaking here mostly, or even, I'm not speaking here about the data or the specific knowledge artifacts, which, as we've looked at this challenge over the years, what we've found is that actually the one point at which knowledge management really matters is at the point of extraction. And so you have to, again, put yourself in the user's perspective and think through, what is the specific use case, again, that, what's the job that somebody's trying to get done when they're looking for this type of information, and what's the best format in which to give it to them. And so this might be a team leader on one of our projects overseas. If they're looking for information on, where else has DAI set up an irrigation system, and, and what did they learn about setting that up, and who should they contact? You really want to be able to get to some pretty practical information about that pretty quickly. And so maybe it is the documentation behind an irrigation system, but more often than not, it's about who should I talk to about thinking through this problem. And it's partly because our business is so variable from one context to the next, that a lot of what we put together, a lot of what we work on isn't exactly immediately transferable. But a lot of the knowledge is, when adapted to a new context, is pretty useful. And it's useful to be able to reach out to people who have thought about these difficult challenges in new contexts. And so I guess that sort of gives a sense of my perspective on knowledge management, having been a team leader before, and thinking from the perspective of a development practitioner who's out on a project. I think it's always useful to come back to that. What's the job that we're trying to get done? Because just setting up places to store documents itself doesn't solve anyone's problem anywhere. It's really, how do we get this to the person who's going to be able to use it in a way that they can use it in a format that's easy to use? How do we get them connected? And so it's about the collections of documentation, yes, but it's also about the connections with the people. DAI has 5,700 staff around the world, And any given day, we're doing, dozens of projects that have to do something, with irrigation or water systems, for instance, just to pick a sector. And, to be able to string those together in a more intelligent way is a real challenge, but it's something that really motivates us, and it's definitely a part of the digital strategy.
One last question before I let you go, Nate. What trends do you see as most impacting how you monetize data at DAI and across today and 2020 and 2021 and beyond? And what are your thoughts around how organizations can speed up some of these digital data transformation initiatives? And I'd be very glad if you can talk about how or what is the kind of a strategic role of a partner in some of these initiatives.
Well, the role of a partner is really important. I think I'll start with that part of the question, because DAI is not, we're not sort of a company that is built on selling digital products per se. Although we do have some digital products that we weave into our offerings and to what we do, we recognize that we actually don't need to be on the bleeding edge ourselves of everything that's happening in technology. We do have to be aware of it, though. And I think that's where key partners come in, partners that can help us see what's out there on the horizon and what's emerging that might be of particular relevance in the development sector and the sectors that we work. I mean, that is really important, because being able to quickly identify something that's relevant and pull it into a solution that we're putting together, or to a project that we're putting together, that's where we see a lot of potential value in developing a rich set of partners over time. And obviously, SuneraTech's been one of those partners for us. We're constantly looking ourselves for what's happening in the technology space that's relevant for development, but we do ask our partners to help us sort of stay abreast of what's going on and what we should be thinking about trying to leverage. And then practically, how do we get some things tried out and tested and experiment, so that we can move the development sector forward as well. So in terms of, there are clear technology trends. We're obviously moving as much as fast as we can into the cloud. We are, trying to leverage many of the same tools that others are trying to leverage in our core operations. But I think one of the key trends for us is, as we think through, ways that that data can help us, and how digital transformation can help us, it's really, again, it's back to what are the specific use cases, and how can we define the use case that is shows potential for creating value, whether it's value for our customers, for the beneficiaries on our projects, as stakeholders across DAI, and then looking at, where's the relevant data, what's the relevant process change that needs to happen, who are the people that have to be involved, and then really thinking about the technology. So I guess to me, the trend for us is maybe not a new one, but it's really a focus on the high value use cases, because it's easily, you're easily distracted by interesting new technology. I think we can all, can easily slip into that mode, as can many people. So I think it's important always to come back to what's the job that we're trying to get done here, and what is the relevant technology to try to leverage. And again, this is an area where we have significant internal capacity for our sector. I think we're a leader, but we also know that there are many more smart people outside of DAI working on the leading technology than we'll ever have inside. And so it's connecting to communities, connecting to partners, and understanding, you know, the pros and cons of different.
Next up, we have Chris Wagner joining us today. With more than 26 years of experience in senior leadership roles, Chris has demonstrated a history of working in e-learning industry. A strong product management professional with experience in various industry-leading organizations like K12 and the Washington Post. Chris, as a Senior Director of Product Development, leads various technology initiatives for accelerating digital innovation at K12. Welcome, Chris. Thank you, and very glad to have you on the show. Let me kick off this discussion with a broader question for you, Chris. I was reading a market study or a survey that you might call it. And as per that report, due to the COVID-19 impact, there's been significant adoption in online learning and consumption of online learning. And markets have seen a significant growth to the tune of 22% over the last previous year. Can you throw some light on how this extended demand for online learning has impacted K12 and some strategies around the managing the shift in this mode of learning?
Sure, thanks. First off, we're moving our systems to the cloud for better scalability. This includes our learning platform and our customer-facing systems so that we can support a greater number of students and teachers. We're also scaling our data platform, where we're adopting a new suite of technologies like Snowflake and new best practices in development to meet our future needs. Our strategy captures more data with better quality, and we're able to use this data to drive better outcomes for our students and our other customers across our business lines. The academic success of our students is a priority, obviously. Building platforms to analyze data in support of these outcomes is extremely important. It allows us to assess the effectiveness of our platforms, our partners, our curriculum, and our teachers. And we're able to identify opportunities to change with better agility to meet emerging needs.
All right, some fantastic perspectives and takeaways there, Chris. So, Chris, we see that there is a major shift towards, like we discussed, towards personalized learning and immersive learning in through online platforms. And you being a critical leader and critical force in shaping the software product development and roadmap at K12, how do you see data science evolve and guide in your product innovation and evolution in terms of offering personalized experience to students through the K12 platform?
Yeah. We're moving towards a very intentional integration of data into our overall strategy. In the past, data has been a necessary part of our back-end business platform, used primarily for reporting. Our data science team received that data, but consistency and quality was not always 100%, and it made things a little bit more difficult. In the future, data will be a primary component of our product strategy. Using data science against an expanded set of higher quality data will enable us to adjust our processes, platform, curriculum to drive tools and metrics for our teachers, better outcomes for our students. And that, again, is the ultimate goal of our business, is greater academic success of our students. While we're doing this, the data that we capture also supports machine learning and AI initiatives. There's immense opportunity in how we understand what works best for each of our students individually, and to adjust our systems, the way we interact with those students, and the way we handle the curriculum and the teacher interactions with them.
Thanks for those insights, Chris. So, Chris, one last question before I let you go. Given your long-term engagement with SuneraTech, can you share some insights into how SuneraTech has been assisting you and your team in building a data-driven organization?
Sure. SuneraTech's been a partner with us for several important initiatives. First, they worked with us on key products like developing our system-to-system integration platform with MuleSoft, and they've been supporting us for years in our data warehouse platform. We're working with Sunera to continue building the team of the future to move our data platform to the cloud. Retooling our teams both on and offshore is a key to a success during this transition. We have a hybrid team composed of full-time employees, onshore Sunera contractors, and an offshore team. This model allows us to grow and manage that growth effectively. It also allows us to be very agile, to change quickly, and to grow in areas where we need to increase resources for a particular tool or technology. Sunera is working with us to retool both our on and offshore resources to our new tools and to our new best practices. I look forward to Sunera growing with us as we move forward with this transition.
All right, thanks for that. You know, I did say it was the last question, but you know, I just got another thought in my head. You know, I just wanted to pick your thoughts on that. I promise this is the last question. My thought was, you know, we are seeing a rapid increase in digital acceleration across industries, right? And some of the, you know, initiatives that you have talked about earlier, in fact, a lot of the initiatives that you talked about, you know, earlier, given all these initiatives and given the need to accelerate execution of these initiatives, can you also tell the audience about, you know, how you are thinking and what your strategies on how you prioritize, accelerate, and execute some of these initiatives while ensuring that the target outcomes are met?
Certainly. As we ingest new and more data into our platform, we see a need to change the culture around the way we support data. We need to build our products from the ground up to capture the right data at the right time. And we need to build in both technical and business processes to ensure the quality in this data. This is the foundation for our ability to use our data in new and creative ways with data science, machine learning, and AI. As we integrate new systems into our platform, we need to be sure to integrate the data at a high degree of quality also. This process begins with product owners in our organization who are responsible for the growth of the product line. They need to understand the data needs first before we start development and work with our data platform team to integrate this data. In the past, it was always easy to think of data as an afterthought and to treat our data requirements, you know, after development had already begun or was even completed in some cases. But we're shifting this culture to put requirements in the critical path of application design. So this means thinking right to left, beginning with the outcome in mind and capturing the data at the beginning of the development process. This way we can expose things to our customers, our teachers, our data science team, our analytics teams, and systematically map them from the beginning of the development process into the systems that we're building so that we can achieve the outcomes that we want. In short, our data is no longer used exclusively for back-end business processes. It's a primary concern. And building a team to support building a team to support this change is an ongoing process as we move from a centralized set of resources to a more distributed model. It's a real culture change in the company. We're moving from a centralized data warehouse team that was responsible for all of the data requirements from ingestion through transformation through reports to a scaled model that uses business applications, subject matter experts, data architects, platform architects, BI architects, and others to build scalable systems and to build the right systems. Obviously, it's agile, this process of change, and it requires retooling our resources across the business. It's a long journey, and we're at the beginning of it, but we have a very solid foundation and a very great path forward.